All right, let's speak now to security analyst Andrew Franklin on what this ban means. Many thanks for joining us on Worldview, Andrew.
Well, thank you for having me, Michelle.
All right, so this is a new development in terms of security and fighting terror, the US and the UK. But let's ask what we're asking our viewers. Do you think this move will help fight terror in both countries?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Well, the idea is to prevent electronics devices from getting into the countries, I suppose, coming out of certain airports. See, right now, the threat has really not been identified. Calling it a terror threat and not saying why, we believe there's a new emphasis on almost a crowdsourcing of devices, of mobile devices, of laptops.
For what reason?
For what purpose? Is the problem on the airlines that have been named? I don't believe so. The problem may be, in fact, at the various airports. The airports of origin of the aircraft that will be going to the UK or going to the United States on direct flights. There's also a profound disagreement between the United States and the UK concerning the nature and the scope of the risks.
Because I understand the only difference between the bans from the US and the UK is the airports that are concerned.
Well, yes, that's part. Yes, that is the difference because BA, British Airways, is involved, is also affected, and it's a British carrier, but it flies direct from these airports. The difference in the airports is so significant as to make you wonder if the two countries' intelligence services are on the same sheet of music. In other words, the United States has put the ban on Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
Saudi Arabia.
Well, Saudi Arabia, but the thing is, the British have not. The notion that somehow that we're not actually explaining where the problem lies, that we're not actually identifying where we think the problem is very worrying because it actually cheapens or minimizes the legitimate needs of fighting terrorism. Right. And it makes it almost seem as a hysterical reaction. I believe that the differences between the US and the UK on this are not minimal and should not be minimized.
Right. What reaction is this likely to have? Because initially we had Donald Trump come out and banning migrants from 7 countries for about 7 or so months, and that received very negative reactions from the host countries and from the residents and passengers themselves. What reaction is this likely to elicit?
Well, this has nothing to do with any sort of banning of immigration of some sort of worldwide
because Trump did cite his move on banning migrants from several countries on security as well as terror.
Well, that's all well and good, but this is so different there because, in fact, if a U.S. citizen, if I get on an airplane in Dubai to fly direct to the United States, I can't carry my iPad.
Okay.
I don't believe that living in Kenya for 36 years has made me a security risk to the United States. And that, I think, is very clear. The problem that we may be looking at is the nature of the connecting flights through these various airports. Right. You may remember that Morocco and Kenya are supposed to have direct flights, which means that you can get on an airplane at JKIA and go to Morocco and then fly on to New York.
Right.
I think if you look at it from that point of view, there are questions that need to be raised about the security at airports from where people come to connect through Dubai or Abu Dhabi. However, keep in mind that now my iPad will have to be in my checked luggage. And I'll have to buy locks again since I stopped locking my luggage a long time ago. However, checked luggage, or no matter where it comes from, is supposed to move fairly seamlessly between flights. In other words, you're not supposed to have access to your bags if you're sitting for 3-4 hours, sometimes 8 hours, waiting for a connecting flight. So if the problem is, for example, at an airport, perhaps Mumbai to Dubai, to JFK, and my explosives are in my checked luggage,
then the damage will still be done.
The damage can still be done.
And what is the accuracy of this ban, considering we're asking our viewers, and we have Dennis here who says the ban will not help because electronics are not the only way for terrorists. But how accurate is it, considering they are allowing phones? So it's just anything bigger than a smartphone is not allowed on the plane. But phones can also be rather dangerous.
And in fact, the actual size of the phone has not yet been stated as such. I mean, I'm always confused when I see people using something that looks like a phone does everything an iPad does.
Right.
But I'm easily confused like that. I think, in fact, that because we're not being told what the threat is, we're not being given the information. Is this some sort of plot by ISIS? Is this another 9/11 plot that we have somehow uncovered?
Is that something the two countries are expected to tell to the world?
Well, I think the rationale for keeping everything secret is something to do with security. We don't want to tell the enemy that we know what they're doing. That covers up a lot of bureaucratic lack of risk-taking, covering your rear end. I think, in fact, we're looking at a situation where it's better safe than sorry. That is, we know there's a threat somewhere. We've picked up the notion that there are threats, and they happen to center now on the devices. We're not being told whether it's that if you have the device on you inside the cabin, you can bring the airplane down. Because after all, the cabin crews apparently are exempt from having to check their laptops, iPads, and the like. There's just a tremendous amount of uncertainty that has been introduced into this whole situation. And we're also going to end up with people going elsewhere, not elsewhere to travel, but looking that, these are airlines that are subsidized. This is somehow anti-Emirates to give U.S. carriers a different sort of break. But that's all ridiculous. These are diversions. We should be asking, are these bans temporary?
All right. Another question that we'll probably have to address a bit later on because our time is up. Thank you so much for speaking to us on Worldview. Security analyst Andrew Franklin there here to discuss our